Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where it is once again drop day for Kaiser knives, and we're going to be taking a look at all of the brand new Kaiser knives dropping today, 9 p.m. ET. There's, of course, a link below, but before you click on that link, we're going to take a look at all four of them. I'll give you my thoughts. If you guys remember, I did a Christmas Eve unboxing looking at all of the new Kaisers, and that was always nice. Always good to dig into some new Kaisers, but since then I've had some time to carry each one in the pocket, let you guys know what I think. We'll kind of take a look at some specs and just do kind of a brief review of each one. I like the way Kaiser's sending me the knives now. They're sending them to me ahead of time, so I can really I can do the unboxing and still give you guys that, but then also give you more of an educated opinion of like actual firsthand user experience, which is great. So, and I'm able to do all of that right before they drop, which is awesome. So thank you, Kaiser, for that. And thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. And now let's take a look at the first one up. We'll take a look at the one premium knife for this month's drop. And it is the new Kaiser Veritas, designed by Jacob Lundquist. And yeah, it's really just as good as the first one, but for some people, it might even be better because as you can see, this one here has the black coating and the little electric anodization splashes that you have on the pivot, front and back, as well as the back spacer here, which it really does give it a nice little pop of color. If you guys didn't remember, or maybe you're somewhat new to the knife scene, you never know. This is the original Kaiser Veritas, so you just have the raw tie and stonewash blade with a black coated everything, with the exception of the pivot and back spacer. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, both of these knives, I am really impressed with the fact that both of these feel pretty much exactly the same. There is absolutely no changes to how this new Veritas here was made. The only difference is it's blacked out and it's got some color on the pivot, and that's it. So that's really nice. Let's take a look at some quick overall specs on this in case you're not super familiar with the Veritas. We have an overall length coming in at 7.66 inches, a blade length of 3.25 inches, and a handle length of 4.41 inches. 4.41 inches. We have S35 VN on the blade steel, and as I said, titanium on the handle. We have a frame lock, and of course, we have all the deployment methods from the front flip to the cutout, which you can do the thumb flick, or you can also do the middle finger flick, which works so good on this knife. And of course, that front flipper is easily reach around approved and a very, very, very fidget friendly knife. As I also said, designed by Jacob Lundquist, who's a great dude and a great designer. He's got some really cool stuff in the works. Really excited to see what 2024 brings for him. And price on this guy is $175. And if I remember right, I believe the original one was $169 when it first came out. So for the extra $6, that basically covers the extra material for the black coating and the time it took to do the anodization splash, the electric anodization splash on the backspacer and pivot. So there's that. But yeah, there's really nothing. I guess the best thing to say about this is it's just as good as the first one. The consistency is top notch. Yeah, have no complaints with this. You have that awesome reversible carry for the pocket clip. It can go left or right with a nice filler tab that blends in with the same milled design. It's got great ergos. It has a really nice simple drop point blade that's slicey, full flat grind. All the good things going on with this. It is a great knife, and you really cannot go wrong, especially if you've been looking for a Veritas and maybe you want a little more darkness and color pop to your carry. This could very well be it for you, the Kaiser Veritas. Next up, so now this was the one premium. We got this one done, and now we're looking at 3 brand new models. This is the first time you're going to see any of these models early. Well, maybe not the first time you've seen them, but the first time they've been available for purchase here at 9 p.m. tonight. All 3 under $800, so they're kind of in that budgety area. And let's get going here. Let's take a look at this right here. This is the Kaiser Crypted. And I gotta say, of all 3 knives, from the point I unboxed them to now, this is probably the one that has been the biggest surprise to me. When I unboxed it, there was something about this knife that It reminded me of something, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. So I was like thinking in my head as I was trying to talk about it, which never really worked because I'm not that good of a multitasker. But then as I was carrying it, I thought, you know what? You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me a lot of the Kaiser original. Let's do a quick size comparison here. As you can see, very similar, almost identical in length. There's a lot of features to the handle here that are very similar as well, like just the whole button lock and pivot area. A little differences in the handle outline, but in terms of size, yeah, they're basically exactly the same. Which is nice. This is really kind of like an original with a Wharncliffe blade. So, I mean, you know, a lot of people like the Warnies. I will say the ergos on this guy here are probably my favorite of all three of these knives under $100. If you're talking just ergos, really nice because while it is a lot like the original, you don't have really, you kind of have this flat area up here, which does kind of work like a choil, but this is a full circular finger choil, and it just feels a little better than what you have on the original. So yeah, if you like the original, 100%, you should definitely be considering the Crypted. Very similar, and also again, just very nice fidgety blade. Fidgety knife in general, nice slicey edge, really good things going on with it. And let's take a look at the specs. We are looking at 6.82 inches in overall length, 2.94 inches in blade length, with a handle length coming in at 3.88 inches. 154 cm micarta. It's kind of your basic run-of-the-mill Kaiser budget setup, which is, you know, always still a good thing. We have the button lock, 2.77 ounces in weight, designed by Christian Niat. And I have never heard of Christian. Christian is a new name to me. But I gotta say, for a first design, I think you did pretty darn well. And a price of $79. So yeah, it's your typical, everything you can expect from Kaiser. But another thing that I really like up here on this spine, the jimping. This is a really nice knife to have that much jimping on because of the curve, the little hump here on the blade. You know, you can hold it back here and you kind of have this as like a thumb ramp, but then if you really have to get up and I actually did this, I was cutting through some cardboard. I was cutting right at like the corner of the cardboard. So this position right here worked really nice to get a good grip and a really nice command over the blade to just kind of push it through that corner of the cardboard. So really does have some nice grip positions. Yeah, looks good, action's good. There's really nothing about this knife that you can really knock for it. I mean, it's solid. It's everything you expect from Kaiser. And like I said, it's also very similar to the original, only with that drop point blade. So yeah, definitely one worth checking out. Pretty cool design, and for $79, yeah, not too bad at all. Next up here, we are taking a look at this guy. This is the Kaiser Task. And this is the latest Kaiser model to come with the clutch lock. But before we get into too much talking about this, let's take a look at the overall specs. We have an overall length of 7.23 inches, a blade length of 3.04 inches, and a handle length of 4.19 inches. Of course, you got 154 cm and micarta. So nice combo there. And we have the clutch lock, as I said. We'll talk a little more about that in a second. A weight of 3.32 ounces, which is not too bad at all for the length of this knife. Designed by Nick Consoli, who is another new name to the Kaiser designing team. So new names come with new designs, and this design here specifically, I really like this design. It looks kind of new, borderline futuristic. It's just that blade, that reverse, is it reverse Tonto? We'll go with the reverse Tonto blade, or modified Wharncliffe. I'm gonna go with reverse Tonto. Looks really nice. Let's see, price coming in at $82 on this guy. And I do have a couple gripes with this one. I mean, they're not like big deals, but they're big enough for me to say something about it. But first, let's talk about the good things. The blade shape. I love this blade shape. It looks great. That swedge up there. It all comes together. Nice, aggressive tip, slicey edge. Adjustable thumb studs are cool, but I gotta say, I think these thumb studs are in like the perfect spot here. Absolutely effortless to kick this blade out, regardless of how you're gonna do it. So yeah, and you probably wouldn't enjoy taking the thumb stud off and trying to middle finger flick the cutout. It wouldn't work, and well, it may work if you have like crazy long fingernails, but The thumb studs alone work great for the middle finger flick. So a very, very nice knife to fidget with. And for a size comparison, let's bring out that other knife with the clutch lock. Let's take a look at a drop bear, because it's very similar to a drop bear in terms of just kind of your length and your width. And the ergos are very different, because you got that choilish area there on the Task that is going to really differentiate from the drop bear. But in terms of just the length and width and all that good stuff, very, very similar to the drop bear, as it probably should be with the clutch lock. You know, you kind of know what you're getting into. And as you guys, if you don't know, again, if you're maybe new to Kaiser or the clutch lock in general, the clutch lock, if you look very carefully, I'm trying to get some light there. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do this. Bring in my Woobin X3. And as you can see, those little dots right there, right above my fingernail there, those 4 dots, or is that 5 dots? 5 dots. There are 5 dots. Those are all adjustable notches to where you can put the springs of the clutch lock. So you can adjust the strength of the clutch lock, which is really nice. I tend to go on the heavier side. Some people like it really light. I don't really like them really light, because then you can really easily shake the blade out, and that's not really my thing. So I usually keep it in the middle, or worst case, I will push it up and make them stronger. So you got that flexibility there with the clutch lock. And then the 2 gripes I have on it. One, now first of all, this knife is called the Task, which is a cool knife name. No issue with the name. But if you call it the Task, I feel like that requires jimping. Like, really, you're going to do tasks with this knife and there's no jimping on it? Like, this knife needs jimping. And to be totally honest, it needs jimping probably up to about where the blade cutout ends, maybe a little farther back, but really in need of some jimping there. So I would have loved to have seen some jimping. And the finger choil here, while it does work, it's a little too narrow for me. It's not uncomfortable, but it just doesn't feel like, I'll even compare it to the Crypted here. As you can see, there's a lot more of an opening, and it's kind of a different round shape there. I'm trying to get my finger behind it so you can see that. Very different shape and just a very different feel because of how the handle comes. The handle's a lot more of an open circular area here, as to where the Task is a little more of an abrupt coming down, to where on the Crypted, it feels very nice, very comfy in the hand, as to where when I'm holding the Task here, I have a little more of that bump, the hump kind of, being a little more forceful. I don't think it's going to be a hot spot. I don't think it's going to be anything like really, really uncomfortable to where you wouldn't want to use the knife, but I would just like to see that kind of widened out just a little. And I know you have the blade right back here, so it's going to be kind of hard. They don't have a whole lot of room to work with, but I do think they have a little room there to knock this hump back and just kind of bring it down a little. That would make a huge difference in my eyes, in my opinion. But as is, it's still really good. It's very fidgety. Love the action on this. Like I said, adjustable thumb studs are cool, but I'm not going to be moving these thumb studs. Like, they're in the perfect spot for me. Really is very similar to the drop bear in terms of just overall fidget factor. Really, really good. And yeah, just another really good piece with a different blade shape. Really interesting little knife here, the Kaiser Task for $82. And last up, I did save my favorite of the 3 under $100 for last. And this one really is. I enjoyed this from the moment I unboxed it. This here, with its amazing little minimal flipper tab. The Kaiser Gaffl is probably the most basic design of everything on the table here, but they did it right. Everything about this was done just right. We are looking at an overall length of 6.69 inches, a blade length of 2.88 inches, and a handle length of 3.81 inches. Of course, 154 cm on the blade. And then here we have that wonderful combination of brass faux bolsters with burlap micarta. And I gotta say, some things in knives can get a little boring. You know, sometimes you get a little burnout on one thing or another, whether it's a handle material, a blade steel, a lock type. Some things can just kind of get old and you want to move on and get something fresh. There is something about the combination of brass and burlap, or even like copper and green micarta, or it's just Brass and burlap is a perfect combination. It looks so good on this knife. Looks very classic, very timeless, but with the new features of that milled titanium clip, this amazing flipper tab. It really is a fantastic combination that I am a huge fan of. A few other quick specs. We got the liner lock. We have a weight of 3.68 ounces, designed by Mark Perez, and a price of $82. So, all in all, another very solid offering. The milled titanium clip is really what adds the price to that. I think if it didn't have the milled titanium clip, we'd probably be looking at like $69 or $75, probably in the low 70s. But I'm totally fine with the $82 in the titanium clip because I really, really like this clip. It actually reminds me, the clip is the one thing, reminds me of the Dogfish clip. Very similar to the Dogfish clip. And if you haven't handled the Dogfish yet, I know it's not a new one, but boy, oh boy, is it a really, really good one. But yeah, so this Gaffl, obviously the star of this knife is this flipper tab. If you guys remember my unboxing, if you haven't seen it, you can go check it out. It was just posted back on Christmas Eve. But the ease of this flipper tab, it looks like it's going to be the biggest pain in the butt to open this knife, and it couldn't be easier. Like it on a scale of 1 to 10 of how well Kaiser executed this, it's like 175. Like, it's so stinking good. It's literally perfect. It's so easy, so enjoyable, so ridiculously smooth. I don't know this for sure, so don't quote me. But this thing feels like it has multi-row bearings. I haven't had time to take it apart. And really, I was looking in it. Let me hold it up to the light here. Yeah, I don't think it does. I don't think it has multi-row bearings. I'm pretty sure they're just standard bearings, but boy, oh boy, are these things so stinking smooth. I know one of the things that will make a knife feel smoother is the fact that the handle is heavier than the blade, especially with the brass. So that probably has something to do with the smoothness there, but also too, the detent, it's not light, but it's like perfect to where it's not too hard to where you'll miss the flip, but you cannot shake the blade out either. Like, it is locked in so good, and then it's just so effortless to flip that blade out. Huge fan of this Gaffl. This is in its respectable price category already. We got a knife of the year contender. I'm a big fan of this Gaffl. I really do like all these models, but there's something about something executed so perfectly and so minimal is a flipper tab that looks like that, to where ultimately I was expecting failure, and it's perfection. It's just really, really good. Also has very solid ergos. The ergos on this are really a lot like, where is it here? Very similar to the Kaiser original in terms of ergos. As you can see, very similar, and really in terms of length and size, a lot like the original. So yeah, very, very nice knife. Another really solid offering and lineup from Kaiser for this month. You guys let me know which one are you most excited about. Are you going to be picking one up? If you do, in all honesty, if you use the link, it would help me out. I do get a cut when you guys use the link. I'm not trying to be sneaky about that. I'm always trying to be as honest as I can with you, so I do appreciate when you use my links. But let me know, which one of these four do you guys prefer? Really hope you enjoyed this one. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and until the next one, I'm out.